So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to get ready a video session which is a little different. Since many days, all of you have been following us, all of you have been noticing us. So, today the topic we have taken a little different. As we know very well right now, number of facilities you are going to get from the digital world. So, let's get back in those days where there was no such concept, where there people were deprived from number of facilities if you compare the present time. So for the time being, I'm going to take all of you way back in 1990, where there was no such system, there was no such scope, but people were gung ho to get ready themselves to know this language. So with us, there is a gentleman who has already one of the exemplified person himself. So, sir, I would like to know from you that while you have begun this particular language, how it has came to your mind that you need to know this, you need to be the part of this.
Well, as I told you, my dear friends, last day in our video session, that everybody needs a cause, needs a reason for learning a foreign language. That may be anything. Most probably, I cited the example of a very ambitious person who wanted to get a very attractive job in order to earn oodles of bucks. So he wanted to learn English. But in case of me, it was a little different. I was a student of a Bengali medium school in the 1980's. And then I remember I was then a student of class 10 preparing for the school leaving examination. I was watching a cricket match on TV. The concept of TV was very new in those days, and not in everybody's house there was a TV set. Only in the houses of a few rich people there used to be television sets, and we who did not get the chance to watch TV in our own houses had to go to those houses in order to watch certain programs. So when the cricket match was going on, I went to a man's house where there was a TV set, and the cricket match was on the running commentary. I have forgotten the name of that person who was a commentator, but he was an Englishman. There in that room, when I was watching the match, there are two other boys of almost my age group. So they were from an English medium school. So English was very easy to them. They felt very comfortable at home in English. They were also watching TV. And they too were talking to each other in English, which I failed to understand. But somehow, at some point in time, I understood that they were making fun of me in English. As I was unable to understand what they were saying, I couldn't directly charge them, but in fact, they were giving a furtive look at me from time to time and chuckling. So, seeing their gesture, I understood that they were surely trying to take the Mickey out of me, trying to talk very teasingly about me. I felt very insulted, offended. In fact, my face turned ashamed. But I didn't tell them anything. I simply left that spot in a huff, in a sneak. I was full of resentment. I had no place to go to for help. There was no other person to whom I would be able to confide. So I simply left that spot. I went back home. Going back home, I was sitting in a gloomy fashion, drawing a long face, and I was thinking whether it would ever be possible for me to learn this language or not. Why I wanted to learn this language? I had the fire of revenge in me at the time. I wanted to take revenge, and I knew that if I wanted to take revenge, I would have to learn English, and I would have to talk to them in English, in which they teased me, and they would learn a lesson then. And so that was a reason for my determination to learn English.
Okay, as you have already said, you were from the Bengali medium, so now you had a vigorous urge to learn this language, which is absolutely different from our local languages. So now the fact is that we are not going to talk about at present in the 1990.
1980s.
I'm going to talk 1980s you have started. So if we take about that also, so at that particular point in time, there was not such a facility, so-called even most of the people they didn't had the TV set even. Sometimes on the radio it used to be broadcast. Sometimes some people they had the TV set where some programs used to telecast on TV. So how did you get this inspiration practical, which is at present more easy?
Mostly the programs telecast in those days were either in the local language Bengali or in Hindi. But in English, very few programs were telecast. There was a newscast. The newscast was in English, I remember, and there were only two channels, and both the channels were controlled by the government. There was no private channel, as these days you find a lot of channels. There was no concept of the internet in those days. So it was very hard for us to have access to English. So what I did, I just wanted to learn English, and there was a burning desire in me. And as I had that tremendous desire to learn this language, I started thinking very deeply. But in fact, I was not finding a way out. I didn't understand how to start learning English. There was an old dictionary in our house that was an English to Bengali dictionary. And that dictionary, in fact, was used by my auntie, who was by the time, who had just completed her education. So I just looked for that dictionary, and I happened to get that dictionary. The dictionary was not very modern, of course, in those days even. It was a dictionary by 80's. Those of you who are my age, my must understand, must remember that often in West Bengal we used to use the 80's dictionary. So that dictionary I happened to get, and I had an old exercise book which I took out, and I started going through that dictionary first. First, I was thumbing through that dictionary without having a clue, without any sort of goal. I, in fact, did not know how to start, and there was none to play ball with me, to cooperate with me, to give me a helping hand. So what I did, I started collecting words from the dictionary, and I thought that collecting words would be enough to learn English. I started collecting words from the dictionary just very randomly. I didn't know that I would have to learn the meaning of a particular Bengali word. Not like that. I just went through the dictionary and I started copying those words in the exercise book, and the English word and the meaning in Bengali. In fact, this process continued for some time, and every day I made it a rule that I would memorize some new words. And in fact, after 7 days, I saw I had almost learned 100 new words, and I just knew the words, but I did not know how to construct a sentence, because I was one of the backbenchers of our school. So it was not that my grammar was not very strong. I was very poor, rather. I was very weak in grammar. And so I didn't know how to construct a sentence. However, I started using those words very haphazardly, here and there, with Bengali. This way I continued for some time. Then when I saw that I had learned quite a very handsome number of words, I started making sentences on my own without paying attention to grammar. Irrespective of the grammatical rules, I started putting those words together in order to make sentences. And though you can imagine very well, you can understand what sort of English it was, full of grammatical errors. And this process I continued with for about 3 to 4 months. And then those people who were educated in those days saw that I was able to use a lot of words, but in fact my grammar was very faulty. Then they started helping me. One of them was the teacher of English at our school, at which I studied. It was a rural school. It was the school was in fact situated at Nalpur near Bauria in West Bengal. So there I was a student, and the teacher, I'm not taking his name now, he was there to help me. He started teaching me how to construct sentences using those words. And so I'm till date, I'm very grateful to that teacher who got me started.
So as you have already collected the word, it was unaware of the fact to you the what is called A in grammar, what is called Z in grammar. So while you have started constructing the sentences, at the time you made number of boo-boos, I guess. So at that time, how did you motivate yourself? That whenever you are unable to make the construct a sentence, but you kept on trying. So how did you get motivate your own self?
I, in fact, looked for people who knew English. I just looked for people who could speak English. And so, wherever I saw somebody speaking English, I used to loiter there in order to hear the rhythm of the language. And following that rhythm, I used to make a rhythm of my own. And I used to speak English. Sometimes I remember I used to just go to the house of a person who was not in fact my friend, but he was very senior to me. But in fact, he knew English to a certain extent. And so I went there in order to chat with him, simply to chat with him. And fortunately, he did not think that I was a nuisance. So I was simply sitting with him and talking for at least half an hour almost every day. And this way, I saw that after about 7 or 8 months, I could speak English more or less fluently. There was no problem, though there were errors in my English.
So now, as you have already on the means good side, as you have started making the sentences, so I am very much interested to know that how did you come to know the exact procedure, the way the foreign people they speak?
Well, it was in fact very difficult for me to go to Kolkata in those days it was called Calcutta, to watch English movies. There were some halls in cinema halls in Kolkata where English films used to be screened. So sometimes if I happened to somebody going to Kolkata, I accompanied that guy to Kolkata, and I went to see 1 or 2 movies, the 1 or 2 English movies, of course. Somehow, I saw that at the cinema hall when I was watching those movies, I was not able to follow exactly the pronunciation of the actors and actresses. I felt that I was far from learning English, because it was not, in fact, when I was in my locality only, I felt perhaps I had learned English to a certain extent. But when I went to Kolkata and I started speaking English there, and I started watching English movies, I understood. I had miles to go. Otherwise, I would not be able to call myself an English knowing person. And then the English films, to a certain extent, helped me. Though initially I failed to understand the accent of the actors and actresses, then I wanted to have the first-hand experience of talking to people whose mother tongue was English. And so what I did, I just went to Park Street. Whenever I found time, I went to Park Street. Going there, I used to keep standing, looking for the white-skinned people. When I saw someone, and I understood, of course, evidently, that she was a foreigner, I approached that person, and I just went close to that person and told, "Excuse me, would you kindly spare me a minute?" And often that foreigner felt disgusted. Some of them outright ignored me, and some of them were kind enough to wait for a minute talking to me. And that was my achievement from them. That was a gift that I got from the foreigners. That some of them were kind-hearted. In fact, they felt that this Indian boy, I was a boy at the time, Indian boy must have something to say to us. So let us stand here. Let's wait. And in that process, I came across a young American boy whose name was David. He came to India. He came to Calcutta to stay there for a couple of months. So I got the chance to go to his place where he used to stay. I'm not taking the name of that hotel. And he didn't stay there, of course, for 2 months at a stretch. He just changed places. And so I just kept following him. And he was good enough to entertain me. And I just laid my heart bare to him. I told him, look, I am very much fond of learning English, and I'm struggling to learn this language, but I do not know how to be successful in my mission. And that particular gentleman helped me a lot. He started explaining to me, of course, different facets of different elements of grammar. And though it was, you may say that it was the American English grammar, so from him I came to know that the word that I was pronouncing in a wrong way was to be pronounced in a correct way. Afterwards, I came to know that that was also not the only way. There were some other ways as well. Like schedule, he was pronouncing schedule, and I was also following him. I was also pronouncing schedule. After that, when I grew up, I came to know that no, the British pronunciation of the word is schedule, whereas the American pronunciation is schedule. Just this way, I kept on learning.
So while you have already got the great helping hand from a foreigner, at the time, how did you made yourself flexible surrounding your place with this language?
Then I saw that I would have to speak English. There is no alternative to practice. If you practice speaking English, then only it's possible for you to be fluent, otherwise not. So I took a vow that I would speak English all the time, all the 24 hours, every day, 24/7. And I kept on speaking. And when I was speaking English, always, in spite of the fact that it was not a suitable environment for me to speak English in, say I went to market, going there I was talking to the market vendors in English. And you can imagine very well, the Indian vendors, they just got furious and they started abusing me in their mother tongue. But I didn't care. I kept on speaking as if I was a crazy man. In fact, I felt that in those days I was crazy for English. So I was ready to do anything and everything. So this way I continued. When I was traveling, I just boarded the bus, and there I was talking to the conductor of the bus in English. Some conductors were polite. They did not react in a very adverse manner, but they felt that it was strange that a man, in spite of the fact that that man is also an Indian, is speaking English all of a sudden. And some of the conductors were up in arms against me, and the other passengers of the bus also started teasing me because I was speaking English. But I did not give a damn. I thought, no, I have to reach my goal. Anyhow, let them say whatever they want. But I will not change my way. I will not switch over to any other language. This way I kept on speaking English all the time, even back at home. My grandmother, my mother, they had difficulty understanding this language, but they bore with me. They allowed me to speak English because I was successful in convincing them that it was the only way to be fluent in English, and they cooperated with me. And moreover, my father also loved English, in fact. So my father sometimes used to talk to me in English, not all the time, sometimes. And when I made any sort of silly mistake in making sentences, my father corrected my mistake. So I'm grateful to my father, who is no more alive now.
As you have already shared your life experience, the way the process you have started and you have already succeeded yourself. So now at present there are many facilities. So now I would like to know, I am very much gung ho to know from you. So at present there are many facilities where the people, those who are interested to learn this language. So what sort of tricks or what sort of special advices you would like to share with our viewers?
Practice. There is no alternative to practice. If you think that there is some shortcut, you are wrong. There is no shortcut. Simply, the more you practice, the more you learn. Therefore, nowadays you are lucky enough to have the internet, to have your cell phone, because with the help of your cell phone only, you can constantly listen to different English people, American people, Australian people speaking English. So you shouldn't have any problem with the accent. That may be Australian accent, that may be the American accent, or the English accent. It is very easy nowadays for all of you, my dear friends. And I think that learning English has become easier for you than for us. By us, I mean the people of our age group when you learned English in the 1980s.
So as we have already shared our opinion, I would like to get back to our viewers that as you have already got the life experience from the person who was inspired himself. So for that reason, there is a phrase goes that where is a will, there is a way. So without wasting our valuable time, so we would like to simply say that keep on practice. Without practice, there is no way out. That's why practice makes a man perfect.
So this is, I think that the main purpose of sharing the story with you is to inspire you to learn this language and to tell you that it is these days easier for you to learn English. English is more accessible to you than to the people of the past or the people of the 1980s. So no more dilly-dally. Start the process of learning from today. If you need our cooperation, we are there always to bear you a hand. So please leave your comment in the comment box, thereby enriching us. And also, if you want to contact us, in the description box, there is always our WhatsApp number. Okay, so if you want to contact us with any question in connection with English, you are welcome. Thank you very much. See you again in the next session. Bye-bye.